Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today's talk is going to be about how I passed the FRCR physics exam. So a quick disclaimer at the beginning. This talk describes how I passed the FRCR physics exam. It might be different for different people and you might be able to use some aspects of today's talks, like some of the resources I used, and they might be useful for your exam preparation. So may not be possible that everything which I say might be useful for you, but you might be able to take some things out of this and hopefully you may pass the exam. So as you know, the FRCR physics exam is the part 1 of the FRCR exam, and it's a MCQ exam where we have to attempt 40 questions with 5 options each, so a total of 200 questions, and the passing percentage is usually around 75%. During my exam it was around 77%. So coming to the two most important things which you need to pass the exam: how much time do you have and what are the resources do you have? Well, I can speak about myself. I am a practicing radiologist and I work a routine job in a hospital for 8 hours a day for 6 days a week. I get one day off. I have a family. So, considering all that, I gave myself 4 months to prepare for this exam. Obviously, you're preparing and the time which you're giving is more towards the end, but I considered that 4 months should be a good time to pass the exam. Coming to the resources, and I'm going to link all the resources in the description below. So for the first 2 months, what did I do? So for the first 2 months, what I did is the radiology cafe physics notes. Now these are excellent high quality notes which are available for free on the radiology cafe website. So what I did was I went through these notes chapter by chapter, topic by topic, and I read through all these notes. After I finished reading those notes for a particular chapter, I used the Oxford MCQ book. The entire book name, I'm going to link it in the description, but just for the sake of simplicity, we'll just call it the Oxford MCQ book. So, this Oxford MCQ book is by and large closest to what you might see in terms of the exam. So, I solved the chapter of the Oxford MCQ book following the reading of the Radiology Cafe Physics notes. Thereafter, I use the second MCQ book. Again, I'll link it in the description. What is the second MCQ book? It also has questions and explanatory answers, and I solved the chapter which I had read in the second MCQ book as well. But in the second MCQ book, I marked the questions which I got wrong the first time. So this continued throughout the first 2 months, where I just read through the physics notes, the first MCQ, Oxford MCQ book, the second MCQ book. 1 month before the exam, I opened FAR Physics, which is the textbook of radiology, and I gave it a really quick reading chapter by chapter. So here's what I did: I gave myself roughly 15 days, and during that period, I read one chapter of FAR as much as I could understand while doing the reading, and made some flashcards or notes which I thought are the important points in that particular chapter. After that, I did the Oxford MCQ book again. So this is the second time of doing the Oxford MCQ book, and I followed the chapter of R. For example, if I'm doing the chapter of R, the Oxford MCQ book follows the chapters of R. So I followed the Oxford MCQ book and I did the same chapter I did as of R, just to reinforce my understanding. And this time, during the second reading of the Oxford MCQ book, I again marked the questions which I got wrong. Maybe just put a circle or just put a star or something like that. Then I did the second MCQ book, but I did only the questions which I had got wrong for the first time. Then I took the British Medical Journal online physics subscription. So this subscription gives you roughly around, I suppose, 180 to 200 questions, and it's laid out really nicely where you can choose questions either by modality or whether you want them answered at the end or you don't want them answered, you want to do it as a tutorial or you want to do it as question and answer. So there are various ways with which you can play with it. So for the first time, what I did, I did questions just by modality. I just picked a modality and I did the questions throughout the subscription. Then 15 days before the exam, I did the mock exam in the second MCQ book, where I did it as a timed exam. So I marked all the questions, I got the answers, and then I went through the explanations. So I got a score. And to be honest, my score at the first mock exam was around 135. So I didn't pass that exam. Then I did the BMG exam again, but this time I only did the questions which I got wrong. So you can either answer the questions which you got wrong only, or you can attempt all the questions all over again. So I just did the questions which I got wrong the second time. Then I did the um, paid mock exams, which is the FRCR exam. So they have roughly 5 mock papers, and each paper has obviously 40 questions and explanations at the end. So you do it as a timed exam, and I was scoring around 150, 160, around that. Not really passed as yet, but slowly building up confidence. There is another source called as Pass FRCR, where they have lots of questions, um, accuracy plus minus 10%, but bunch of questions available which you could sort of do it in your pastime. So a week before the exam, I took a week off from my work, and the first 2 days of that leave, I attended an on-site physics course, which is the Radicon course of physics for FRCR, conducted by Dr. Amin. Excellent teacher, and we went through all the concepts with a question and answer based format, very detailed explanations, and it just sort of helps to consolidate all the knowledge and all the concepts. It just brings it together at the end and just gives you more confidence while attempting the exam. Along with that, the British physics online course also has core questions. So they have like around 60 questions, I think, that you can sort of attempt it as core questions, where they take each modality, the must know questions, and they sort of bunch it together. So that I did. So it's like covering all the topics of all the subjects in just 60 questions. So you sort of feel even more confident while going to the exam. Um, the mock exam, I did second revision, so 5 papers doing second time all over again just helps to reinforce the concepts. The Oxford MCQ book, I did it for the third time now, and this time it was only the questions which I had got wrong the second time. So third time doing the Oxford MCQ book. No new concepts a week before the exam, not trying to read anything new and sort of getting into more stress, just revising what I know from before. Now, a day before the exam, uh, I would suggest just revise for a session, either the morning or the afternoon, preferably maximum 4 to 6 hours is what I did, so that I'm not under too much of pressure myself. I just didn't read anything in the night and the next day morning. Secondly, I had made high yield notes or flashcards for the concepts which I found very difficult, or I was consistently scoring poorly in those sections. Say, for example, nuclear medicine. I was making notes and I was just going through them at the end, just so that I know what the concepts are and what I was not able to understand very clearly. Or the other way to do it is also to make flashcards of commonly tested questions which will come on each and every exam. So that might be a useful way of going about it. The marked Oxford MCQs are also a good way of revising at the end, because that will also help you to further understand what you really don't know even after reading it for 3 times. So that is the thing I would sort of keep it just for the last day. And the BMJ core questions, because they are just 60 questions, you can just finish them quickly and you're like sort of full confident before the exam. So on the day of the exam, how I attempted was, I first marked all the questions to which I knew the answers. The second time I revisited the questions which I had left the first time, where I had to use my knowledge, or I had to use the concepts and try to remember the answer for that particular concept which was being tested, and then mark the answer. And then at the end there might be some questions which you still don't know the answer, and you have to make a calculated guess and move on. So eventually you will succeed. Make use of all the resources you have in the limited amount of time that you might be having, and I'm sure you're going to succeed. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section below, and see you in the next video. Thank you.